Thanks again for hopping on, Jonathan.
Thanks for being here.
Super excited to have you on this episode of Untapped Stories. So, I know Matt and I and you were chatting a bit before the interview got started here, but just to kick it off for everyone listening, we'd love to go into a bit about your background as an athlete. So, before you became a parent and before you've built this awesome business, going back to your early days, what was your own athletic journey like growing up? How did you kind of get into the world of sports as a kid, teenager, and even beyond?
I was the epitome of mediocre. I played every sport growing up. I loved sports growing up. I remember sitting in front of the TV watching the Braves on TBS and like doing my own little play-by-play. I was that kid. When Home Alone 2 came out and the little talk boy thing that Macaulay Culkin had in the movie, I got one of those for Christmas, and I would record play-by-play into that while watching baseball games. I was that kid. I remember I had notebooks where I'm drawing uniforms because it's like I loved every aspect of sports growing up. I played soccer, baseball, basketball. I did a season of roller hockey. I was best male volleyball player at church camp in 6th grade, so I've got that claim. Played a little football in middle school, but hated it. So like everything I could do, I did up until 9th grade. I got into preseason workouts for basketball. So I never made the basketball team in 7th, 8th grade. I was always the first or second person cut. For reference, I was the youngest kid in my grade, but I grew faster than most people. So I was tall. I just emotionally and some of the social stuff, I wasn't quite there. And so 9th grade, we're going through preseason workouts, and I'm like, this sucks. I do not want to run this much. And at the same time, I was a band kid. I was really starting to fall in love with music at the time. And so I decided to quit basketball and jumped all into band. I joined the pep band. I did all the extra music stuff. I was in a ska band for a little while. Music became my thing, but I kept doing baseball. Freshman year, I was the first person cut from the JV baseball team. And when I was in the office with our coach, when he cut me, I told him, I was like, hey, I really care more about coaching than playing. At that point in time, I'd already realized I wanted to coach of some sort. I don't care about playing time. I would love to just be part of the team and help make the team better and learn how to coach. And he's like, let me ask the varsity guy. And so talked to the varsity coach, and he said, yeah, you can be at practice every day, come to every game. You're probably not going to play much. I'm like, that's fine. I'll sit next to you. So the whole season, I sat next to him and kept the book and got to hear all the coaching conversations and all that. The next year, we had too many people try out, didn't have enough uniforms, so I did get cut my sophomore year, but he told me he wanted me to keep doing that at games. By my junior year, he told me he wanted me back in uniform. And so I stuck around with the JV team my junior year of high school, and he treated me like an assistant coach. And then senior year, the varsity guy let me do it with him. I stayed home for community college my freshman year of high school and was an intern. And so I was at practice and games. I was an assistant coach as an 18-year-old kid, essentially. And then once I went off to college, I worked for the football team where I went to school, Division I football team for 2.5 years, and then was a grad assistant for the athletic department for a year. So I've been around it, in all the aspects growing up, because I just wanted to be around sports. I was a terrible player, but I just wanted to be around it because I love the value of sports, and I love the competition, and I love just all the things that went along with it. And so once I got out of school, I worked in student ministry for a few years, working with high school students. And then I've been coaching my kids the past few years once they've gotten into sports. So I'm on a board for a rec league, whatever I can do to be around it. The funny thing is I don't really love watching sports anymore. My favorite sports to watch are high school baseball, where I'm the PA announcer for my high school's team. That's a whole different story right there. And then my kids that I'm involved with as well. So, that's what's funny. It's because, in my opinion, those levels are still somewhat pure.
Yep.
And you get to see kids going after it and help them really reach their potential.
I love that.
That's really cool. You mentioned in high school that you stuck with baseball. Were you still doing music at the same time?
Yeah, so I was a marching band kid. I was in marching band in the fall, and then our spring was concert band. The funny thing, so this was one of those tension points for me. My junior year, I wanted to try out to be drum major for the marching band as a senior. And we had a baseball game one of the tryout days, and my band director would not let me miss drum major tryouts for the baseball game. So I had to make a choice whether I wanted to be part of go to the baseball game or drum majors. And it made me so mad. I didn't think it was a year before he had let a soccer player miss a day.
Yeah.
And she won. but he wouldn't let me. So there's this whole fairness thing that came out in me. Yeah, I kept doing music all the way through, and it was just one of those things like that. That was my life. It was music and baseball pretty much my last few years of high school.
Sounds like a kind of a balanced upbringing for sports. So it wasn't everything. You weren't one of those kids where your parents like said you have to become a professional baseball player. You probably had fun along the way. Learned how have you taken that maybe going into what you do now from like the healthy sports parents business? Has that early upbringing kind of shaped your mindset into what sports should be for kids? It sounds like a balanced approach is probably what you prefer. But how do you go about like using your upbringing and using it for a positive good in the world with your own kids and the kids that you coach too?
Yeah, it definitely played a part into it because like I played 1 year of travel baseball. I was the kid that like again wasn't that great, and so I would go to tournaments and not get an at bat. And so I've seen that kid. I've been that kid. So I mean, it's definitely a part of it, but also where I worked at Liberty in the football team for the football team in the athletic department, like I saw kids get there and burn out and like they just don't want to play anymore. I have a vivid memory of a guy I graduated with. He was the best athlete in our grade growing up. Like middle school, he was football, baseball, basketball on the team, like best player on the team all around. And once we got to high school, his dad made him pick one sport and made him pick baseball. And so he didn't get to play football or basketball in high school. He was good. Like I think dad saw like, hey, this kid doesn't have the best grades. His best chance for college is playing a sport. But by the time we graduated, he didn't want to play. He skipped his community college tryout because he was just done with baseball. He didn't want to play anymore. So I've seen how it has worn kids out. There's another kid a couple years younger than me, was a 4-sport varsity athlete in high school. His senior year, he was conference player of the year in soccer, and he didn't go to soccer practice a single time that season because he wanted to play football as a senior. He was so burnt out from soccer that he just wanted to quit completely. And the soccer coach said, no, you can just come to the games. We'll let you play football. Just come to the games. And so he went to college to play baseball. His best sport was, he could have played Division I, lower level, possibly Division II, definitely Division II soccer. But he was so burnt out from soccer that he pursued baseball in college, played maybe a year, and then just left it all because he had done so much. So I've just seen that happen. I want this journey to be led by kids who want to do what they want to do, not by parents who are fearful of them being left behind or all the different insecurities that come up while we're watching our kids. And like, if it's not the kids' love, it's not going to work out in the end. And the worst thing in the world is when you get to be 18, 19 years old and all you've known is a sport and all you've done to get love from your parents is play that sport, but now you're done with that sport. What happens to not only your personal identity, but your relationship with your parents? Like, that's going to take time to be rebuilt because that's all you know. So I'm really big into this holistic, like, what's the kid want to do? And how can we support our kids' passions? Like, help them find healthy passions and then support that in the best way possible so that our relationship with them is great. Because once we get done playing, let's assume our kid plays all the way through Division I baseball. He's 22 years old. Chances of him going pro are next to none. Ideally, we've got another 30 years of being their dad or their mom once they stop playing. So we have more time left after they play as their parent than we do in the lead up. So what's that relationship going to be like if our entire relationship is built around a sport and pushing them and them performing for us?
Besides just talking about your local pro sports team and catching up on that.
Yeah, or going and grabbing a burger and talking about like whatever, or going fishing, or like whatever it is, like whatever you and your kid like to do, like that relationship is way more important than any success they have on a field or a court.
I love it.
And you had mentioned talking about specialization in youth sports. So kids doing what their parents want them to do versus what they want to do. Maybe they want to play multiple sports. Do you think it's a good thing having multi-sport development, or is specialization okay? Like, what do you advocate for one over the other, or does it just kind of depend on the preference of the kid?
Yes to all of those. I think it's a very nuanced conversation that we have made too simple because nuance is hard on the internet. Ultimately, multiple sports through at least middle school creates a better athlete and a healthier kid. We just know that to be true. That said, if you live in a highly populated area, or your middle school or high school is highly populated, your kid could actually fall behind if you don't specialize, because everyone else is feeling the pressure to specialize. And so they specialize. And even though it's not good for any of you to specialize, when everyone else is doing it, you could fall behind. So I understand a kid who is motivated. Again, I'm going to make the assumption we're being kid led here, not parent led. A kid who is motivated and has said, hey, I want to make the varsity team at my school. If that's their goal, I understand the desire to specialize. I personally, in every sport except maybe soccer, and I still think soccer for most high schools is this way, I think if the kid is naturally gifted enough, they're going to be able to catch up once they get to middle school if they're willing to work hard. So soccer's the one thing that there's some comfort level there with the ball at your feet that you're probably not going to play in college unless you start playing mainly soccer really young. I think you can play in high school because most kids aren't playing in college in the first place. So there, again, that's where that nuance kind of hits. But the high school here in my town, we have 850 kids. The only thing you need to do to play soccer at West Oaks High School is show up on day one with a physical and a pair of shin guards. And we'll even give you the shin guards if you don't have it. We just don't have the numbers. Like, we don't have a JV team, guys. Like, it's a smaller town. So in my town, there's no pressure. But if I go 20 minutes down the road, it's a 2,300 person high school and highly competitive, affluent area. So those kids don't get the same privilege of mine of being able to say, like, oh, let's sample everything and try it, because everyone else is training super hard in one sport right away. So I think so much of it depends on your kid, what their goals are, and then also, are you willing as a parent to let them fall behind? We had a kid at my high school. Baseball's our big sport. He's going to play Division II this fall. I think he has the opportunity to transfer to Division I after his freshman or sophomore year, because he's really starting to grow into his body. He's really starting to perform this past year after he committed. But he got cut from baseball in 7th grade. Like, he didn't make the team. And it was the best thing for him because he learned how hard he had to work. And then by 10th grade, he was on the varsity team. So he was a 3-year starter on varsity by 10th grade. So he went from 7th grade not making it, 8th grade making middle school, 9th grade playing JV, 10th grade was an all-conference tournament team as a 10th grader, because he caught the bug where he loved the sport and he wanted to put the work in himself, and he started growing into his body. I'll give you another story. There's a girl at my high school right now. She never started playing soccer until her 6th grade year, when she didn't make the volleyball team. So it just so happened mom was a soccer coach and she wanted to play. Like, she's like, all right, I guess I'll play soccer. 7th grade, she broke her leg, so she couldn't play. 8th grade, she missed her school season and then got to play her club season in 8th grade. But that's when she caught the bug. I caught the, when you really want it, like, you really intrinsically motivated to get better. From that time, coming in between 7th and 8th grade, when she caught the bug, coming back from that leg injury, to now as a freshman and sophomore, she has put so much work in and developed as an athlete that she made the Olympic development program in the state of North Carolina as a 14, 15-year-old.
That's incredible.
Wow.
So if you have the genetics, which is a huge piece of this conversation that we don't take into consideration a lot of times, if you have the genetics, if you have the desire and determination to work hard, I believe you can catch up. Are you willing to let your kid go through some hard times, though? And let's acknowledge the underbelly. There are some places around the country where if you don't get in early, the adults running the teams don't give you a shot as you grow into your body. So that is wildly unfair. High school coaches that are coaching club teams and they pick their favorites by the time they turn 13, and that's who the varsity team's going to be by then. I have to acknowledge that exists, and that's what plays into this nuance. But ideally, we're playing multiple sports. Ideally, at least through like 6th, 7th grade. Ideally, we're letting the kid lead this, and ideally, they can catch up. There's exceptions, there's nuance, and I think your listeners are smart enough to to understand that.
I think that's a good point about it being kid led too, because if a child wants to specialize in one sport, but the parents are like, no, I want you to play multiple sports, they're not going to be motivated, right? So I think that's so important.
And at that point, it's important for us as parents to say, hey, I understand you want to play baseball, and baseball is your sport, but soccer is going to help you with your lateral movement. So if you're a second baseman, you're going to be able to get to more ground balls by what you learn playing soccer. Your sprinting in soccer or in basketball is going to help your home to first time and help you develop your speed because it's a different athletic motion. So if we have a kid who only wants to play one sport, but we think playing multiple is good, framing it in the way of, hey, because I just did this, my son only wants to play soccer, but we did this little track club over the summer, and I had somebody, Owen, you're not a great runner, dude. Like we both know that learning some of these fundamentals of how to run is going to help your soccer. So I understand you don't like running, and I understand that this track thing's not super fun, but this is what's helpful for you. Plus, we have this whole rule that you have to be playing a sport every season or doing some type of physical activity. So that was his physical activity for the summer. So he never complained about it. He didn't love it. Like it's not like he's going to ask to sign up for it next year, but having gone through it, he's running a little better than he did before. So it's going to help him this fall as he starts soccer.
One thing I want to just double down on there, Jonathan, because honestly, I've thought a lot about it myself. My son's 2 years old, other one's 8 months old. And I feel like my dad did a really good job with it.
Oh, I remember that. Mine are 16 months. God bless you. Yep. It gets better.
Oh, yeah.
It does. That doesn't help you right now, but it gets better.
Like when they start playing a sport, we'll have some scheduled activities. Now it's just chaos every morning, every night. But it's fun. It's the fun chaos. But I'm trying to think back to like when I was a kid. Somehow, some way, my dad did a really good job with this. How do you foster the environment to let a kid catch the bug? Because I feel like a lot of parents know that. They want to take a step back. But naturally, if they were athletes or if they're successful, they want to put their effort into it, and they want to essentially they want to have the kid do exactly what they want to do. But how do you, like those couple of stories that you shared where the girl broke her leg and all of a sudden at 15 she's like Olympic trials, maybe like what did those parents do, or what have you seen parents do where they're able to take a step back and let the kid just naturally grow into it?
It's all about fun. Like they have to enjoy it. And like, again, anything before puberty, it's hit or miss because they're going to develop into their body. Like a kid at 14 is totally different than them at 11. So the skill level there and what they're going to be able to, you look at baseball, like the difference in 12 and 13 when you go to the big field, like it's wildly different. So I'll use my daughter as an example right now because she's 10 years old. She's in 5th grade. We're in U12 soccer now. A year ago, she wanted to quit. She had a coach that wanted to turn the girls into beasts at 8 and 9 years old. That was her words. And she was really hard on the girls. She would make them run if they messed up on something, like a harsh tone. She was yell a lot, and not the yell encourage, the yell kind of like, what are you doing? Like that type of stuff. And my daughter had a really bad game one day. And I waited till the next day to talk to her. I was like, hey, Liv, like what happened? She goes, I'm just tired of getting yelled at. Those were her words at 9 years old. So we talked about it, and as the season it kept getting worse, and like we spent time in her bed with her crying at night because she wanted to quit. And I remember asking her, I was like, Liv, I think you really like playing soccer. I do. I don't think you care how good you are. I don't. I think you just want to play with your buddies. Yeah, that's all I really want to do. It was a social event for her in 4th grade. So what we did was we left that team and found another team with some friends from church that was not as good of a team, but had an incredible team culture. Like those girls loved each other. The coaches were super supportive. Like they did this thing where if in a game, it wasn't about if they won or lost. It was about, can they string together 3 passes? How many times can they string together 3 passes in a row? And they would get donut holes at practice the next day. And so like it found fun. They would sing Taylor Swift songs together as they were doing drills. Like it was super fun. What Liv found out through that, like she had to play a little harder because the girls weren't as good. And so she started to see a little bit like, I can be kind of good at this. Like she's started to put more effort in, had a really good season with really encouraging coaches with no pressure whatsoever. And by the time we got at the end of the season, I asked her, I was like, hey, Do you want to keep playing on this team? You're on this. Do you want to go back to your old team, play with your friends from school? Because we had to go out to a different town to play that one. She said she wanted to go back to her old team, the ones with friends from school. And over the summer, we did a camp, and like she did really well. And then we did a camp at Wake Forest, just a nighttime like recreation level. It wasn't like prospect camp or anything like that. It was like their nighttime camp that their men's team ran. That's just like for local kids who want to play soccer. And she did one of the drills for they asked for someone to give an example of this drill or move they were doing, and she volunteered to do it. And after the practice, Coach Muse, he's like, "Hey, is she yours?" I was like, "Yeah." He goes, "She did great tonight." And like you start seeing this confidence build up a little bit. And we had our first practice this week, and she said I could coach her this year. So I haven't coached her in a few years. So I'm coaching that team this year. Tuesday night, we're getting ready to practice. Practice starts at 6, 5:30. She's asking to go. And like, she's ramped up. You can just see it. And during practice, like she's working harder than she's ever worked before. And her performance is still, we'll get there, but she's trying and she's smiling. And afterwards we're talking about it. And I asked her, I was like, "Hey, do you want me to be coach right now? Or do you want me to be dad? Like how could I should, you can tell me." And so we're talking about like, she had a couple moments where she gave up on a ball and I wanted her to be more aggressive. And she's talking to me like a 10-year-old, like, "Well, I wasn't sure if I should do that or if I should do this." And I'm like, "Oh, well, I would rather have to pull you back for saying you're too aggressive than have to push you forward." "Oh, okay." And then she goes, "And this other time, I wasn't sure what you were going to want me to do here. So I just did." I was like, "All right, well, in the future, I would rather, again, have to tell you to stop than have to tell you to keep going." "Okay." And like, I found out from her librarian that yesterday at school, she was talking about how much fun she had. So it's like, we're fostering this fun idea. And she wants, like, some of our girls on our team play at the middle school because we have a 5th and 6th grade team right now. And the middle school coaches have invited our younger girls to be ball girls for the middle school girls team this season. She's so freaking pumped to go be a ball girl at the middle school. Like, so like she wants to be around it more and she's having fun. And it's all because we took all the pressure off. We let her own it. Like it's at her, like we're fine with a 9-year-old wanting to play soccer with her buddies and not caring about how good she is. And so like, she's already talking about wanting to play in middle school next year. She's like, and so like, I showed up, told her, and I was like, "I think you're going to catch it. And when you catch it, you're going to see how good you can be. And you're going to want to start getting better." And it's helping them just at their time, putting aside our desires, putting aside our insecurities, our fears, and just letting them take it at their level. Because if it was meant to be athletically and desire-wise, they're going to catch up once they're willing to put in the work. If we're the ones having to push them all the times, I can't tell you how many people get to college. They get a scholarship, Division I, Division II. They get to college and mom and dad have been the one pushing them to get out of bed and do the work their entire life. And they get to that first workout and they're late because mom and dad aren't there to push it, or they don't have the intrinsic motivation. And coaches know. I working at Liberty, we knew a week into camp, like, oh, that kid's going to be gone in a year. That kid's going to be gone because they didn't love it enough. And if they don't love it, they're not going to be willing to put in the work for it. And if they're not willing to put in the work for it, then they're not going to get to that level that they want to get to. So we have to when you love something, you're more willing to do hard things. And we have to help them love it before we expect them to do hard things.
That's a really good point. And one of the things you mentioned specifically with your daughter was dealing with, I'm sure it's easier as a 15, 16-year-old if you're having an issue with your coach, going to your coach and having a discussion about it. But when you're dealing with an 8 or 9-year-old, and a lot of parents in our audience may have this same issue where you're dealing with a difficult coach or they're pushing the kids too hard. How as a parent do you handle that? And how involved do you get with the coach in a circumstance like that?
Yeah, that's a great question. Our goal is to train our kid to be able to have those conversations themselves. But at 9 years old, that's kind of ridiculous to expect. So I advocate for this model that it's like, I do, you watch, I do, you help, you do, I help, and then you do, I watch. In those elementary school years, I'm going to have those conversations with a coach, but I want you there with me so that you can watch how I speak to someone in authority with respect, but in a tough, challenging environment. Early middle school, like you're going to be there with me and you're going to be having input in that conversation. By 8th grade, you're having that conversation with your coach, and I'll be there with you. I'll be your safety blanket. I'll be there as your encouragement to know that you're safe to have that conversation. But then by 9th grade, you're having that conversation with your coach yourself. You have to own that. And I was just talking to the AD at our high school the other night, and he said he had a meeting with a parent who is upset about playing time. I'm like, dude, why is a parent talking to you for a high school kid playing time? He goes, well, our process is kid has to talk to the coach first. And then if they talk to the coach and there's still something there, then they can come to me before they can go to the principal. So like they have this stair-step process. I talked to the head coach of the team because the coach that was my daughter didn't love was an assistant coach. I talked to the head coach, and he told me he'd take care of it. And you can't control people. So she kept doing the same things. And so I told him, I was like, hey, if it keeps happening, we're out. And like, I'm still friends with him. Like, we're back on the same team together. He's helping me coach. So we are still friends, and he understood. In these younger years, mom and dad have to be protective. We're mama bear, we're daddy bear. But we can do it in ways that shows respect for the humanity of the coach. Even if we disagree with them, we are modeling to our kids that we are to show respect and kindness and politeness to people, even if we don't like them. So we can have hard conversations with people we don't like and still do it with respect and honor and dignity and those things. And so like, I never once said a bad thing about the personhood of the coach that my daughter didn't love. I said, we don't love the way she did things. We don't love the actions she did, but we don't have a problem with the person. The team we moved to actually played her old team last year, and my daughter and that coach that she didn't get along with hugged after the game. And my daughter said it was a big deal for her. So like, human to human, that was fine. And it's all because of how we approach those conversations, because it wasn't abusive. It was an old school type of coach who she was coaching the way she coached. She got coached growing up that didn't sit well with our values as a family and what I think should be happening and what my daughter responded to. Does that make that person a bad person? Not inherently, no. So why am I going to dog that person? Why am I going to say bad things about them as a human being? We just disagreed athletically and kid development. And so, I mean, even that is setting them up for when they're 23 years old and they're going into their first job out of college and they hate their boss. How can they speak up and advocate for themselves to an authority figure with respect while still standing up for what they believe in? Like, these are little lessons that kids will take with them for the rest of their lives.
I love that. And when you're thinking about, not that you can really pick a team just for the coach, but I've seen this. I coached Little League just for fun when I was 23, 24. I stopped playing baseball when I was like 12, but it was a blast. The guy that I coached with, though, super intense. He was like a high-profile business guy in the Philadelphia area, but like he brought that same passion to an 8-year-old baseball team. Didn't really sit well with me, but it was funny. I talked to the parents. Half the parents loved it, and they were like, "I want my kid to do push-ups if he, strikes out." And I'm like, "That's kind of crazy." Half the parents were like, "This is way too much. We want to find a lighter coach." As a dad, how do you adjust, and how do you kind of like, again, you can't pick the team based on the coach, but how do you make sure that your kids find themselves in a good situation with good coaches that, again, it's depending on your values, they're either the super hard coach or the super easy coach. Like, can you navigate that with your kids, or is it kind of really just luck of the draw depending on what team and, what city you're in?
Yeah, it depends on league. It depends on city. Like the soccer league we're in, it has different teams you can sign up for. So like, who's coaching it. Like, you can choose to play with certain people if you don't like the coach. But the soccer league my son's in, it's who's going to sign up to coach. It's up to us as parents to model what it looks like to show respect, even in disagreement. Like, I never make my soccer teams run as punishment. I am a big believer that we don't do that because it sets up exercise as a negative. The way I coach, I'm just such a nerd about this stuff. So I'm very data informed. Like, we know that with soccer, it's less about running laps and more about sprints, because it's just a bunch of 80-foot, 90-foot sprints at a time throughout the game. So I actually don't do any running in my practices, because I tell my kids, like, if you work hard in our drills, you're going to run all you need. Like, we don't have to do any extra sprints or something like that. Like, again, or U12, like U10 and U12, like, it's not a full football field size. But there are other guys who coach and they make the kids run, and maybe not as punishment, but they're running their laps. It's just, I think it's good to expose our kids to people who have different approaches than we have, and having conversations like, well, why does Coach Landon make his team run? Like, Daddy, I know you don't do that. Why does Coach Landon do that? Well, it's one way of helping his kids know that they're going to be in shape and have the conditioning. Like, I have a different approach to it, but his way's not bad. And so letting our kids realize there are multiple ways to do something, and not just because it's different doesn't mean it's bad. How many times in life are we going to meet people who have different opinions on how to approach something? And it doesn't necessarily mean their opinion, their approach is bad. It's just different. And that's okay.
Yeah. And especially for kids that eventually want to play at the college level. I mean, there's so many different types of coaches. I know some coaches do make their team run as punishment. Some don't. So getting that exposure at a young age is definitely beneficial.
Well, and then I know, like, once they get to middle school, they're going to be running their butts off because we go to a field that's twice as big as the one we're playing on now. So, like, there has to be some extra running. But again, if as a youth coach, pre-middle school, or let's say 6th grade and below, if I don't help kids fall in love with the game, they're not going to be willing to do the running once they get to that level. So some people are like, well, we got to prepare them for that level. And so that's why they push for doing it now, like the super hard work in elementary school. I disagree. Our preparation is in teaching them how to work hard and teaching them how to love the game. And then if we can do those two things, then when the work gets harder, they love it so much that they're willing to do that work. So I'm an advocate for how can we have the most fun possible and teach them what hard work looks like in a fun environment. Because a lot of times, like, they don't realize they're sprinting when we're in the middle of a game that we're playing. But if I were to take the ball away and say, no, on the line, we're doing 10 sprints, they would hate it. But if we're chasing each other down the field, trying to steal the ball from each other, like, we're sprinting just as hard, if not harder, but it's fun and we're laughing and we're competing. And so we're fostering that competitive environment in a fun way so that when the work gets harder and a little less fun, we love it so much that we're willing to do that.
That's great. The one thing I did want to ask you too, in particular about your podcast, is, are there certain common myths or misconceptions about youth sports that you try to aim to address on your podcast?
The biggest one is that it's their journey, not ours, that it needs to be kid-led, which we talked about that a little bit. I'm really big on talking about performance and identity and how all of this can get woven together. So I have an email newsletter that I send out on Fridays called The Weekend Playbook. And it's just a short email that comes out that is like just a reminder of how to be present in a healthy way at your kids' games this weekend. One of the ones that's in that list or that newsletter is this idea of, you need to take your kid to get ice cream when they play like garbage. Because if we only take our kid to get ice cream when they have a really great game, we're reinforcing that their performance matters more than who they are. And you guys know this. You're a little younger than me, but like, how many adults do you see go out and do stupid stuff because they're still trying to earn their parents' love through their performance? We're just trying to get our parents to freaking love us, and we can't figure out how it is. So how can we show our kid, like, no, okay, you played like dog doo-doo today. It was one game. Let's go get ice cream because I love you. How can we separate our kids' performance from the love they receive from us? And it's a really hard thing to do, but it goes back to, like, let's praise effort instead of results. Like, hey, I saw you working out there. I know it didn't. I know you missed the shot. I know you struck out 3 times, but I saw you working. Those were great at bats. You just didn't hit the ball today. That happens. Like, Aaron Judge has 3 strikeout days occasionally. It's okay. He's one of the best hitters to ever live. I just love that you were out there giving it your all and competing, because then what we're teaching our kids is, like, it's not your performance that gets my love. I want to see you do well. I want to see you try. Like, as long as you're trying, I'm going to be your biggest fan. I love that you were out there, that you picked that girl up off the field who fell down. That's the type of kid that I'm really proud of, because you did that hard thing and you were polite to that girl on the other side. Then you went and competed against her, but you were able to separate her and help her out. Like, it's little stuff like that, that if we can celebrate who kids are and not just what they do, then we set them up for a life of security. You can tell a lot of times the kids who came from homes where mom and dad loved them regardless. I got a friend who's an assistant soccer coach at the University of Florida. He's from England. He came over to play Division I soccer when he was 18 years old. He has not moved back. He's in his 40s now. And he will tell you if it were not for the unwavering love and support of his parents and his siblings, he would not be coaching in the SEC right now because he's been fired. He got cut from teams when he was after college trying out for the pros. Like, he would not have gotten to where he is now without the love and support of his family. And he's in his 40s coaching in the SEC, and he'd tell you that. So if it's true for him and he reached the peaks of what we would think in America that elite kids should reach, and if he says the key to it is the love and respect and dignity and support of his family, like, we gotta model that to our kids too.
And I noticed from your podcast too, kind of piggybacking off Matt, I mean, you've talked to a lot of high-level people, D1 coaches, psychologists, athletes. Is there one common theme that comes out in all these conversations that maybe as they've reached the pinnacle, if they could go back in time and do one thing different or one major lesson they learned along the way that they've shared or they want to share to the next generation and the parents too? Like, what does anything consistently pop up in all those conversations where you're like, wow, not many people know this, but everybody listening, would greatly benefit if they heard it?
There are a few themes you get. Don't be led by fear. Don't parent your kids through this journey based out of fear. And so many people wouldn't say it's fear, but when you dig down, it's fear. It's fear your kid's going to get left behind, fear they're not going to make a team, fear they're going to be disappointed, fear of, and that's a normal and a natural fear. It's just we have to be aware of that. I talked to Kate Ziegler. It's coming out later this fall. She's a 2-time Olympian, and she was a super driven kid. She's setting world records at like 16 years old or something like that. And she talked about how her parents, they didn't know any better. So this wasn't any type of dig at her parents. She'd be like, oh, I'm nervous. I'm going into Junior Olympics and I'm nervous. Normal freaking thing for a 16-year-old to be nervous going into Junior Olympics. And they're like, oh, nothing to be worried about. And you'll be fine. You'll be great. And they're kind of like, not necessarily shrugging it off, but trying to help her move past that nervousness. And what she said that would have helped her out a whole lot is just like, no, I get it. I get being nervous. That's normal. And like, validating her experience. And the episode I've got out this week with Dr. Jeff Schilt, who is he's a pediatric orthopedic surgeon. He works with the U.S. Olympic and Paralympic teams and U.S. cycling. One of the things he said over and over was like, we have to validate our kids' feelings. So I think that one of the big themes is just that emotional support of like, our kids are going to feel stuff. And those feelings are natural. And it's natural for us to want to like push past them, because let's be honest, we're tired, we're exhausted, and like dealing with our kids' emotions on top of our own feelings is really freaking hard. So like, oh no, you're fine. You're fine. Don't worry about that. You're good. Like, but what they need from us is like, hey, no, I get it. Like, I understand. Like, this is a big game, but let's talk about it. Like, have you done the work? Have you put in practice? Well, yeah. Like, do you feel confident in yourself that you know what to do? Yeah, I think so. All right. Well, let's take that nervousness and let's reframe it into energy and attention and focus so that you can remember how to do the things you do. And if you do that, that's great. And I'm going to love you no matter what, no matter how you played. Just go out and give your effort. There is a scientific study that showed that kids will perform 30 to 40% better just by having parents on the sidelines who support and care for them. They're more willing to go out and take chances. They end up playing the sport longer, and they bounce back from failure quicker if they just know mom and dad are on the sidelines cheering them on and aren't going to yell at them in the car when they mess up. So just by showing up in that way, our kids perform better. And then when they perform better, they feel better about themselves. And when they feel better about themselves, they fall in love with the sport. And so it really just starts with supporting our kids where they are and not expecting this performance out of them.
I remember even playing sports in high school and in college. You do, when your family's there supporting you, it's definitely, even as an older adult, it's definitely an advantage.
Yeah.
For sure.
And like you've probably seen the videos going around like TikTok or Instagram of like, it's a video of a kid wearing a backpack that has all this gear in it. On the screen it says, if you're wearing a mortgage on your back, you better put in the effort or whatever. Like we're not gentle sports parents. If you're wearing a mortgage on your back, you better be working your butt off or something like that. And I get the joke and I think it's a funny joke. But one of the issues we have in sports right now is because this is so dang expensive, there is this inherent pressure when you get into travel sports of, if we're paying this much money, you better go out there and compete. And so that's if a parent is hearing me say this, I want you to hear that, like, that is a normal thing. You're investing money in something. You don't want that money to go into waste because you worked your butt off to earn that money. But the interesting thing about it is when we put pressure on our kids to perform, they perform worse. We have no control over our kid on the field. And the anxiety that comes in us because we can't control how they perform. We can't control if they play well or not. And like, it's completely like, these kids are 8, 9, 10, 12 years old. And we've been in control of their life and what they do so much to set them up for success. And now we have to release it and let them go perform. So what wells up inside of us is like, well, how can I need to tell them what to do. Gene, I got to tell them to go do this. Matt, I got to tell, like, it's the only way they're going to know how to do it. And that's just a natural thing for us to do because we want to help and we want to shepherd them. But in reality, what they need is for us to just shut up and say, go get it. You got it. It's so unnatural for us to do that it takes work. 8:00 game on a Saturday morning, an hour away. We're still pretty dang tired. So to do that work takes extra work for us to be that presence is even harder. So if you blow it, if you're a parent and you've blown this before, like, I want you to hear grace upon grace upon grace right now, because chances are you didn't even know what was going on inside of you in those moments. But now that you've listened to this a little bit, like, my hope is that whenever you go out and you watch them play or practice next, you'll hear my annoying voice in the back of your head saying, like, oh, hey, chill, take a second. Like, that anxiety's there. Let's call it anxiety. Let's call it nervousness. Okay. I am nervous. My kid's going to screw up. I don't want my kid to feel like a failure. Like, okay, what do they need from me right now? They need me to cheer them on and support them. All right, let's go be that person. And just that 30 seconds of intentional naming and reframing can really change how we are in the sideline, because what it does is it takes away any shame or guilt that you feel like, man, why do I feel so freaking stressed out about this 8-year-old kid's game? Well, it's because it's my 8-year-old kid.
I feel like before my last question, my biggest fear as a dad is my kids are playing and they're the kids who always look to the sidelines for me for advice. I couldn't stand that when I was a kid, when I was a coach. You'd see, like, every time they mess up, it's right to dad for the answer. My parents would always be like, not that they did a bad job, but the parents who do that, there's way too much of an attachment to the parents on the sidelines. You have to let the kids play and just kind of be out there. But going back to maybe my last question, one of your points there about travel sports, I think this is a huge topic. I've seen it all over social media, and parents ask a lot about this. And I'm thinking, too, you have a good athlete, he's 5'6", she's 5'6", whatever it is. You get to that, I'm guessing 8, 9, 10 stage, every kid starts playing travel sports. It's an expensive team. You're going around the country. I've seen it with kids that I've coached too. They go to, like, Boston, California, Texas, and they're 9 playing basketball. Like, they are not on any path to the NBA. How do you navigate that as a parent when every single kid is going to these top teams and you don't want to get left behind? You also want your kid to enjoy their weekends and probably stay local, but the best kids aren't doing that. So how do you find that balance? Or, like, what would your message be to parents going through that right now?
I think the first thing we have to do is identify our values as a family. Like, take sports out of it. What are our values as a family? Like, for us, we know we value doing other things outside of sports, whether that is, like, we have season tickets to the local theater for the Broadway show, the touring Broadway shows. Like, that's a family value for us. We want to be able to do that. We're involved at our church. That's an important thing for us. That's something that we want to be a part of. And so because of that, we can't let sports take over our lives. We value well-rounded kids. So my daughter's in dance as well. And so we're doing other things. If your family's different, there's no judgment or shame for me. It's just you have different values than my family, and I totally get that. And so what are the values of your family? If your values are like you love hanging out at the ball field and that brings your family life and you love that and you can do it, okay, then maybe there's something there. How much are you willing to spend? In our area, in the elementary age, we have a couple fields within about 45 minutes to an hour from here that host tournaments regularly. So a lot of these elementary age travel teams, they're just going an hour away every 2 or 3 weekends. That's not too bad for some people. Like some people love it. When you have 3 and 4 kids, that's a different story. What is possible and feasible for your family? Because we don't need to be going in debt for youth sports. And then it goes back to that first thing we talked about today, guys. Like, I truly believe most kids are going to be able to catch up. So like, if your kid wants to play for a lower level rec or low level travel team at 8 years old, okay, they might be the best on the team, but if that's all you can do right now, that's all you can do. Like, let the kid lead it, but don't compromise your family's values out of fear that your kid might get behind by a year or two.
I love that ultimate perspective. You said it a couple times there. It's the family values before anything else. I think a lot of parents get lost in the sauce of just like they want their kid to be the best, which is great, but that doesn't come before your priorities as a family. And if you have multiple kids, budget limits.
The other thing is, like, they don't want other parents to judge them for not doing it. I've had people tell me that I'm doing my kids a disservice because we're not doing travel before 6th grade. No, my kids don't want to do travel right now, guys. Like, Olivia only wants to practice once a week and she wants to have dance another night. Like, so I'll give you an example. This is kid led to me. The team she was on last fall, our league does one hour practice per week. Some of the parents wanted to get some extra time, so they moved practice to an hour and a half. Totally fine. Then they wanted to do some more, so they added a second hour and a half practice during the week. And they said it was optional, but whatever. And again, these are 8, 9-year-old girls. My daughter had dance on Thursday, so they did practice on Tuesday and Thursday. She couldn't be there at the extra practice on Thursday because she had dance. Halfway through the season, they moved that second practice to Wednesday. And I said, Liv, like, I know we weren't doing it because of dance. It's on Wednesday now. You committed to one night per week of practice. Do you want to go to this practice now on Wednesday nights, this extra practice? 9 years old, she thought for a second. She goes, no, because I've got my duet dance on Mondays every other week, and then I've got soccer on Tuesday, and I've got dance on Thursday. And if I did that on Wednesday, that'd have me out every single night of the week, and I don't want to be out every single night of the week. And guys, if my 9-year-old can verbalize that she wants some downtime, why am I going to force her into extra training and take away from that in 4th grade?
That's really impressive that she knows that at that age.
Right?
Yeah,
like, to me, that's more impressive than having a great soccer player, right? To be able to think through her emotions and what she wants and to be able to verbalize that. And the fact that we've created a family culture where she's comfortable verbalizing that with us and feels like, and knows she's not going to disappoint us in that. Like, that's led to the safety of now she's wanting to do more. And now and we're about to hit puberty and we got to have some hard conversations. And like, we've built that level of trust through sports through letting her lead and supporting her, that like we're getting to some of these awkward, hard conversations where like, and they're not awkward and they're not hard because we've built that trust with each other.
I think having it be kid-led, too, is the most important thing. And you think back to yourself as a kid sometimes, you're like 8, 9 years old, I didn't know what I wanted to do. A lot of kids actually do. Like, they're able to speak up if you give them an environment to do so. And they'll tell you, hey, I don't want to be playing 8 sports 9 nights a week. It's too much sometimes. If the kid wants to do it,
the kid wants to do it, let's support it.
If they don't, then
in ways that make sense with our family and our values and what we can afford and like what's healthy for mom and dad and little brother and little sister. Like,
you got to think about the whole family. Can't just be one kid playing 6 nights a week, the other 3 kids running around in the outfield. You have no idea where they are.
Right.
They have lives too, you know. Yeah.
To all the parents listening, this is hard. Like, none of this is easy. And so like, if you're feeling the struggle of it, I just want you to hear me. Like, it's not easy. The reason you're struggling and you're turning to stuff like this is because it's hard. And the loudest voices out there are the ones that are preying on your insecurities and your fears so that they can make money. So just know that, like, it's hard and there are people who are wanting to take advantage of the hardness. But you can do it. Do it what's best for you and your family and your kid, and let other people judge you. Let other people think different. Like, it doesn't matter. You know what's best for your family. Go do that.
I think that message is super important in today's world. Probably wasn't as much of a thing when we were growing up, and you're a little bit older than us, but even with Matt and I, like, parents wouldn't come and need something like this, but with how crazy it is with youth sports today, parents have to have some sort of outlet to hear this stuff before they
Absolutely.
make their own decisions. So.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.